everybody. Thanks for joining us for the most recent episode of Half Street High Heat. We always appreciate you listening. I am your host, Amanda White. You can follow me on Twitter at awhite7877. I am joined as always by Nick and Ryan. You can get them on Twitter at DCNatChack, and you can follow the pod at Half Street High Heat. And of course, you can follow the DMV Sports Network, for whom we're doing this podcast, at DMV_SN. We are doing this for them. You can also find them online at dmvsportsnetwork.com. You can always get daily content there on all professional and college sports that are local. Also, please subscribe, leave reviews, feedback. We really appreciate it. All right, so let's get into it. We are going to start this week. How are you guys?
Oh, I'm phenomenal as always.
Feeling lucky. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Yes. Did you all eat corned beef and cabbage for dinner?
That's what I eat every night. So
It's my breakfast.
I continued with what I was doing, and it's worked so well so far. So
we actually did have corned beef and cabbage for dinner, but I don't like corned beef or cabbage, so I ate ramen. So there we go.
Corned beef and cabbage ramen.
Yeah, it was a Japanese St. Patrick's Day for me.
Nice.
All right, so we are going to start off this pod with our season award predictions. So we're going to go starting with our top 5 most important nationals of all time, which, as we talked about a little bit before we started, is kind of hard because they haven't been around very long and they haven't won anything. So, but let's start with you, Nick. What did you come up with?
So do we want to do it like we all do our number 5, number 4?
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that one.
Cool. So my number 5, while his tenure with the Nats didn't finish how I'm sure he wanted it to, I'm going to go with Ian Desmond.
Oh, that's a good one.
So I think for a while there was always the talk of Ian Desmond is the last link to the Expos franchise just because he was a prospect for them. And then obviously they made the move. But for a while there, he was kind of like, he was the prospect. He was the guy a lot of fans were excited for, along with Zim. And obviously things haven't gone too well for him. I mean, he got paid. You can't really blame him or be too upset with that if you're Ian Desmond. But
career-wise,
career-wise, he wasn't exactly where he wanted to be, but that's fine. But the biggest thing is that he turned down our extension to him. That would
Hallelujah.
Yeah, that would have really.
It was a qualifying offer, right? I mean,
he turned down that too, but it was the year he was going into free agency, the off season before that, we offered him
it was $100 million.
Yeah, it was a
lot of money.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. So
yeah, that's gonna haunt him forever.
Yeah, I'm just kind of glad we didn't do that, or he didn't accept that. So
yeah, he kind of hit free agency in that first year where it wasn't, it was before everybody realized the way free agency was going. And I remember when he didn't get signed, and then finally took a $5 million deal. Was it with the Rangers or the?
Yeah, it was with the Rangers. And then, but I think that reason is people knew he wasn't a good shortstop. He hasn't played shortstop since.
He hasn't been good anywhere else.
Yeah, he hasn't played shortstop since the Nats. He had so many errors.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
Yeah,
wasn't there that one month where he had 7 errors?
Oh, it was insane. Oh, yeah, so I think that kind of started it.
That was the month where I'm not proud to say I was like, please bench Desmond and play Danny Espinosa.
God, yeah.
It's bad when you're clamoring for Espinosa.
He signed a minor league deal with the Phillies or
the Mets. I think he's with the Mets. Yeah. I think he was actually in a game for the Mets, spring training game the other day.
Calling it now, he hits a walk up against us.
Yeah, I could see it.
Because Tyler Moore got us last year. Ian Desmond's getting us this year.
I can see it. All right, okay. Ryan, who you got for number 5?
So number 5 for me is the dude whose name will always be with this franchise. He'll always be etched into our history forever. And that man is Drew Storen.
Are you joking right now?
Important?
Dead serious. Important. You never said good or anything, but Drew Storen is attached to this franchise. Whenever this team gets close to October, boom. You cannot think about the Washington Nationals without Drew Storen. And for that, I'm putting him at number 5. The dude who blew every single game that was big ever, and the guy who somehow got a standing ovation when he came back to Nats Park.
I was at that game and I did not applaud. I can tell you that
you should have threw stuff at him.
The 2012 NLDS, the Game 5 where he gave up that, I was in my living room and I am not proud to say I wept at the end of that game. I was so upset when that game was over. I will never forgive Drew Storen for that. Even all those years later, I was like, no, I'm not clapping for that guy. All right. Well, I've got mine, and you guys are going to love it, is Jason Worth.
Boo.
I know you guys are Worth haters, but to say that he's not important, I think is just not true.
Yeah, it is true. It's on brand with Nat Shack.
Role, and the time that that Game 4 walk-off home run, I mean, that
meant absolutely nothing.
Because they lost the series, but it extended the series, and that was
He's also lost us like 3 other series.
I totally hear you. If Drew Storen can be on the list, Jason Worth can be on the list, okay?
All right, well, you're not – it's not for the right reasons, so.
Well, I don't think you can either. Is Storen.
No, it's Storen. Ryan put it perfectly. Storen will forever be attached to one of the biggest collapses in playoff history for the Nats.
But Worth will also always be associated with this team.
God, I hope not.
He will. He was the first big free agent signing that they made, and he was
not really a big free agent signing. He's mediocre.
Well, I mean, what's big, money or is big performance? Saying. Do you know what I'm saying? To say he wasn't
I'm not budging
I realize
at
you're
all.
Not a fan, but important part.
That's how this is going. At least he's number 5.
Yeah, he's my number 5. So who's number 4, Nick?
So I am going to go with the true reason the Nats shifted into being competitive, and that was Steven Strasburg.
June 8th, 2010.
Yep, he was the first
14 strikeouts.
Yeah, it's the first of obviously back-to-back number 1 overall picks. Both of them thankfully hit for the Nats, but really Strauss was the one that drew people to the ballpark. That really he was the ace that they wanted to build around, which they have, and obviously we have Max now. So
right, I was going to say I'm surprised Strauss is this low on your list, actually.
Yeah, because there's more important people, in my opinion. But no, I think Strauss played a big role in kind of shifting the direction of the franchise. Obviously, we had to hit rock bottom with the number 1 pick for us to have something to build on. But no, Strauss was the reason, not Jason Worth, that we shifted culture. So,
gotcha. All right, who you got, Ryan?
Nick talked about him, but I got Desmond at 4. He was the rock at shortstop for the longest time before he just hit a wall and realized he can't play baseball anymore. And he handed the torch off to a true king and Trey. So, but just how long he was here and who was solid for a while, I got him at number 4.
Technically, he handed off to a truer king and Danny Espinosa. So,
wow, wow, hot takes everywhere around here. All right, my number 4 is Zimmerman. While I thought about putting him higher, I just found
only 4.
Only 4 because
that's not what I expected.
No, I love Zimmerman. I feel like the last few years have been tough. Ever since really he had the shoulder issues and had to switch off third base, I felt like he's not the guy he used to be.
Yeah, ever since he started sucking, he just hasn't been the guy he used to be.
well, yes. I was trying to be more diplomatic, but diplomacy is not your watchword. Anyway,
shots fired.
Shots fired.
Yeah, the D in DC NatShack doesn't stand for diplomacy, so.
No, it sure doesn't. It sure doesn't. I could come up with a couple, but that wouldn't be one of them.
Douche.
Anyway, no, Zim has been, he's obviously been the face of the franchise. He was their first draft pick, and he was, for a long time, the only reason that it was worth it to watch any Nats games because he was the only good player they had. And if it weren't for the fact that there are other players who I think have had a bigger impact on the team, then he would have been higher on my list. But, Zim has to be in your top 5 of any list of most important Nats.
Yeah, so that's a perfect transition to my number 3, which is also Zim. I was going to put Strauss ahead of him, but the one reason I didn't have Zim higher was because of injuries. And if you think of Strauss, it's kind of hypocritical to knock Zim for injuries, but not knock Strauss for injuries. But yeah, I think you put it well. He was the only reason we had hope for a while. I remember I believe it was 2007 or 2008. He hit a walk-off home run on Father's Day against the Yankees.
I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
Yeah, so that was obviously a huge moment in history for the Nats. And obviously he's kind of been the captain for several years. And obviously he's not as doesn't have my mind. But Zim as a figurehead still means a lot to the Nats, even though he's not providing on the field anymore.
Yeah, agreed. What about you, Ryan?
My number 3, I got Strauss. Although he has battled injuries throughout most of his career, his start was the first time that people actually paid attention to the Nationals. That was on ESPN. That was a huge story when he was making his debut, and that's when everyone was like, "Huh, the Nationals are a baseball team," and that was the start of the change for the franchise.
They're a baseball team that plays baseball in Washington. That's it.
Yeah,
that's the thing that's happening. Yeah.
Because
I've got Strauss 3 too.
I
put him ahead of Zimmerman. That was hard for me. I was kind of debating which way to go with those. But Strauss, I think, still has the potential to be massive for the Nats, and I don't really think Zimmerman does. I think as much as it sucks for Zim that his career will come to an end without him having led the Nats to anything. I mean, hopefully they're going to win a World Series in the next couple of years, but I don't think that he's going to be the one who leads them there. Do you know what I mean? Like, he may be there, but he won't be the one that led them there.
Yeah,
and I think if it had happened
office
5 years ago, he would have been the one that was the leader.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I see your point.
Okay, who do you got number 2?
All right, number 2. The man. Bryce Harper.
I'm just glad you didn't put him 1 because I was like, if you put him ahead of Max, I'm going to be pissed.
Wait,
Max is in my top 5.
Yeah,
so
who said Max was even on the list?
Really? All right, that's crazy talk, but all right.
So, just the guy who broke my heart. He obviously was huge to the franchise. There's no debating that. I mean, people feel this kind of way because he meant so much to the franchise. They didn't care when any of our other free agents left. They didn't care when Jordan Zimmerman left. It was like, oh, Jordan's gone. Oh, well. This one hurts. And obviously because he meant so much, I think it's self-explanatory. I mean, big postseason home runs, bigger than worst. Don't at me. Obviously the home run derby is just electric. Just so many moments in the Nats' young history that Bryce has provided, and it's going to suck seeing him play in a different shade of red.
Yeah, agreed. What you got, Ryan?
I got Zim number 2. I'm kind of talked about, but Mr. National, I thought it'd been too cheesy to put him number 1, so that's why he's at number 2. But Mr. National.
So that has to mean Harper's your number 1.
Yeah, I was like, I can't go Zim 2. It's too cheesy.
Oh, okay. Well, I have Harper number 2.
And you're okay.
Yeah. Harper's just like you said, he's massive. I mean, he was the biggest name that the franchise ever had. He put butts in the seats. He was the most recognizable National. He was the one that got the most attention. The home run derby last year was maybe one
insane.
Of the for a franchise that's never won even a playoff series. That was probably the coolest moment. That was the coolest moment in Nationals history so far, which is damn sad.
Yeah, we won the World Series that day.
Yeah, exactly. It was our World Series, damn it.
Yeah, we won something.
So. But I have to say, I saw a thing today that he's partnering with someone to open what he called a bro lawn, which is apparently a salon for men in Philadelphia, and that made it easier for me to take him leaving when I heard that. So.
That sounds awesome, actually.
Looks like I'm moving to Philly.
Yeah, why didn't he do that here, man?
I don't know. I guess he just didn't love us as much as he loves them. I don't know.
All right, well, that hurts.
Accept it, Nick. Accept it.
All right. So my number 1, just clear, obvious choice here. There's really no debating all the success he's had as a Nat, and that is Jesus Flores. No, it's obviously Max Scherzer. He's the true big free agent signing. He's the constant, the steady, the excitement. He's everything you want Nationals baseball to be. There's it's the obvious choice.
Yes, agreed.
Yep, not much to say. Not much else to say.
It's Max. Yeah. What do you need to say about
it? Yeah, he's Mad Max.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have him on it just because he.
I can't believe he didn't even make your top 5.
I didn't even think about it.
Like, you think Ian Desmond is more important national than Max Scherzer?
You think Drew Storen's more important than Max?
Hey, I thought Drew Storen was funny. All right, F you guys. All right. I got Bryce number 1. Love him or hate him. This team would be a lot different and different for the worse if he was never a national.
Yep, I don't hate it.
And he's the reason why they have a national fan base and the reason why kids in DC care about the Nats. So for that, I got him number 1.
I don't hate it.
No, I see the point. I just don't agree. I think it's Max. I mean, Harper.
I see the point. Don't agree with that.
All right, fine. No, Harper had the one MVP year, and it was amazing, and it was super fun to watch. But you can't really. The team never really had any great success, and he never really repeated that performance. I mean, people. If you look at his numbers overall, he's an excellent baseball player, but I would say he never really lived up to people's lofty expectations after that MVP year. And, Max has had 2 back-to-back Cy Youngs and then arguably should have won it, but came in second last year. And I think he's probably the favorite to win it again this year. I mean, he's consistent. He's absolutely everything you want your ace on your staff to be. So I think he'll be the first one in the Hall of Fame wearing a Nationals hat.
Yeah, that's probably true. Whew. Yeah.
So he's my number.
I was thinking about that today, actually, that Max, he's definitely on track to go in, obviously, but.
And as we established last week, he's already done enough to get into the Hall of Fame, so.
Yeah, well, so Max is my number 6 because I forgot about him and I was thinking of this, so.
No, you got to go 1A.
I know, number 6. You can't put him behind Drew Storen.
I think I got my number 9.
All right, well. Okay, let's move on to our next segment here.
No Henry Rodriguez, Ryan?
Oh, my. It's getting bad in here.
Tyler Clippard? Anyone?
I don't know. No one licked their hand as much as Tyler Clippard. He wins that award.
Levon Hernandez, John Lannon.
Oh, Soriano, I used to just cringe every time he came out to close a game.
I think John Lannon deserves some love. So
he's great on Twitter. I'll give him some love. He's fantastic on Twitter. He's super.
I didn't
funny.
know he knew how to use Twitter, but okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about our favorite Nat, Michael A. Taylor, who got injured this week.
Great teammate.
Yeah, he really knows how to put the team first and just
get injured so that Robles can't go down to the minors.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, he knew it was the wrong move, so he decided to take one for the team. And
evidently he's got a sprained knee and hip. And while he is not always our very favorite player, of course we don't wish him any ill. I hope he feels better.
I love him now.
Soon.
Oh God.
Oh my. Anyway, given his injury and that he is going to miss what Davey Martinez called, quote, a significant amount of time, what are our final roster predictions? I mean, obviously this opens up the center field spot for Robles.
So yeah, Robles is now a lock to make the roster.
Yep.
There's a lot of talk of the Nats going out and signing another outfielder, but I really don't think that's necessary. I mean, Andrew Stevenson, he's not good, but he's fine enough. I mean,
he's serviceable as a fourth outfielder.
And Michael Taylor, he'll be back late April, early May, maybe mid-May, and that's just a month into the season. I don't see the point going out and signing an outfielder who you're probably going to demote to AAA anyways when Michael A. Taylor comes back. So I mean, I think Stevenson's just fine enough. Just throw him out there, play him about once a week, once every other week, honestly.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You don't think they should go out and get somebody like Denard Span's available? I keep hearing people talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the point because then when Michael A. Taylor comes back, what if Denard Span's playing well? Then what do you do?
I know I know you would hate to not see Michael A. Taylor get that fourth spot. So I would say if you sign a guy for dirt cheap, I would go out and get somebody. I think they do have an outfield depth problem. I think Kendrick was already their emergency. He can play out in the outfield in a pinch, and he's hurt too. So I think they need to get another outfielder on the roster while Taylor's on the DL. And when he comes back, if Span or whoever they sign is playing well in his opportunities, then, that's just fine with me.
Yeah, I would have said, like, if they could have gotten someone, I would have wanted Carlos Gonzalez, but he actually just signed with the Indians yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, I mean, the only one who's really available who I would really want would be Span, just because he can play center field, and you want to be careful with Robles if anything happens, God forbid, because we don't really have anyone else on the roster who can play center field.
Right.
Like Eaton could, but you don't know how his knee is going to hold up and whatnot. So that I would want Span, and if it's not Span, then let's just roll with Stevenson.
Got it. All right. What about Craig Kimbrell? Nobody would sign Craig Kimbrell. There's been so much talk online about.
I figured it out.
Oh, let's hear it. Wisdom from Ryan. We're about to get here.
Is this the theory you tweeted too?
Yes. Okay. The reason why he hasn't signed yet is because Craig Kimbrell has focusing all of his time and attention to St. Patrick's Day, the day where gingers are universally loved. So now that's over, he can finally focus on baseball and sign with the team.
Yeah, and he's going to get the contract he wants because it's like Ginger Appreciation Day for St. Patrick's Day. So they're going to realize his value and give him what he wants.
I feel like I spoke too soon with the wisdom from Ryan.
Well, actually, no. Well, I can be serious now. I saw a very interesting article from Rosenthal about there's word within our king, our Lord and Savior, but there's belief in this camp that Kimbrell may wait until like mid-June to sign. And so like it sounds crazy, but
it does sound crazy.
Teams don't lose the draft pick for signing him after that point, and he's going to be more fresh for the playoffs. So like instead of giving up a prospect to try to reinforce your bullpen, hey, let's just go sign Craig Kimbrell, who hasn't thrown all year. Put him in the minor leagues for a little bit, get him ready, call him up, and the dude's going to be fresh as anything for the playoffs.
I guess so, but there's a reason why they have spring training.
Yeah, I mean, but
at this point,
yeah, he's pretty much.
But if you're, the games in June count as much as the games in August. I don't know that you want a guy who hasn't thrown in a year.
Well, you can. Yeah, I mean, you can still put him. He's definitely still working out. His arm's still in shape. Yes, he hasn't faced live batting, but like Ryan said, you can put him in the minor leagues for however long you feel like you need him. But I mean, it's crazy, but when you get to mid-March and you haven't signed, it's not so crazy. Because
I guess so. It still seems bat-ass crazy to me for him to hold out that long. Yeah, I just don't get what he's trying to accomplish.
Well, I mean, like he hasn't even gotten any offers, so that's the thing.
I doubt that. I bet he hasn't gotten any offers he likes. Same thing with
not
Keuchel.
Like a true offer.
Fair.
Well, yeah, Keuchel's another one. But
Keuchel's gotten offers from the Astros, but...
Well, he's got.
It's been like a 1 or 2 year deal.
Offers from all kinds of teams. They just don't like him. I still think a lot of players, especially, I guess so, but a lot of the players, like the market is what the market is. Are you going to miss a season or part of a season because you're not getting what you want? At this point, take some money, sign a 1 year deal, and go pitch somewhere, and then try again next year. Like it just seems insane to me.
It's desperate hours right now.
That's the same argument we had for arbitration. Like you didn't like the arbitration thing because what if you got hurt? Blah 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 blah. So that's why you were in favor of them signing extensions. It's the same logic here. Like they don't want to take a 1 year deal, get hurt, and then they have to.
Well, then they could have taken the longer deals they were offered earlier.
They weren't offered. Keuchel's only getting 1 or 2 years.
Keuchel got an offer for I think 6 years and $90 million 2 years ago from the Astros.
At that point, it was an undersell. He won a Cy Young.
Understood. I'm just saying, like you turned down $90 million.
Well, it's just everyone dreams of hitting free agency. So as soon as you get money, you're like, hell no, I'm not going to take that and hit free agency. Yeah. And then they have a couple bad seasons, and now they're sitting here like, well,
I'd say free agency may not be all it's cracked up to be.
Exactly.
Days.
Yeah. I mean, aside from Harper, Machado, and Corbin, no one's really gotten paid anything.
I mean, it took like Machado and Harper forever to get what they wanted.
Yeah, but they were always going to get paid. They're kind of above and outside of whatever the rest of the free agent market's doing.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's.
But you would think a guy like Kimbrell would be in that category. Like
you would think.
Yeah,
you would absolutely think, which is just crazy to me that he hasn't signed even like if he wanted 6 years, $100 million. It's crazy to me he didn't get like 3 years, $50 million.
Right, or 4 years with an option after 3 or
something.
Exactly.
You know? Something like that's still on pace for
it's crazy. We're in a time where relievers are more important than ever, and statistically the best reliever of all time through age 30 can't get a deal he likes.
Yeah, and speaking of I feel like the Nats bullpen is already in midseason form with great starting pitching, and then the bullpen completely collapsing at the end of every game. I don't know if you've paid attention to any of the spring training games this week.
Rosenthal can throw 102, and when he's like walk and give up hits, like
right. But Doolittle yesterday had like an epic 5-run collapse. It was just heinous.
Drew Storen form, baby.
That's the most important Nat ever.
Well, yeah. Well, Doolittle's like putting on his best audition for them. Like he's pushing them to sign Kimbrel. He's like, "Hey, I'm not doing so well.
Did you see that he went up to the report that he went up to
Davey?
Incredible.
Right. I love Doolittle.
Oh, I'm 100% getting his jersey now.
One. Yeah, that was an awesome story.
He answered, just such a great teammate.
Yeah, he answered the question, "Whose jersey am I getting?" Yeah, it's Doolittle now.
And for those of you listening who don't know the story, when the rumors started to circulate that the Nats might be interested in Kimbrel, the story is that Doolittle went up to Martinez and basically said, like, there's an empty locker next to mine, and I'll be the first guy to welcome him. Like, he's not going to be upset if he gets, quote unquote, demoted to setup guy. I think they could, to have two elite closers that you can basically play matchups, like who do I want to set up today and who do I want to close, would be incredible. But the Nats are insane and won't sign Kimbrel. So
yeah,
there you go. All right, final roster predictions.
All right, so I actually wrote this down earlier, so I'm just going to rattle it off real quick.
You got it.
So starting it, we got Zim, Adams, Dozier, Defoe, Kendrick, Trey, Rendon, Soto, Stevenson because Michael Taylor's hurt, Robles, Eaton, Suzuki, Gomes. Then we move the pitchers. We got Max, Strauss, Corbin, Sanchez, Helly. Bullpen, I got Ross making it, Bearclaw, Rosenthal, Sip, Grace, Doolittle. And then rounding out the last spot, I got Wander Suero.
That's honestly exactly the roster I had. We are so connected. Oh my. Amanda, you have any
Yeah,
dissent?
actually, mine is exactly the same. Rare agreement amongst all three of us.
Wow. Shoot, hold on, let me change it.
Yeah, I think most of these, I'd say 90% of them are no-brainers.
Yeah.
Most of the roster set, but the only questions were really center field, and that's been answered with Taylor's injury.
On my roster, I traded Soto, Robles, and Kieboom for Mike Trout, so that's who I have in mind.
I saw that insane poll you sent out this week.
It was a hypothetical, and people got so angry. Oh my God.
Well, it was just I would be a no on that. And then you insulted all of us who were like, that's crazy.
Well, I mean, we have a brand to uphold.
It's a good point. So, yeah, and the only other question to me was about relievers, and I had the same 7 that you did. Yeah. I think, Suero was that last kind of
I think he gets it.
Yeah. Sip answered a lot of the bullpen, like what direction they were going. And again, releasing Solis answered that question too.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Solis got released this week, which is pretty surprising, but welcome. I mean, I don't wish any ill on anyone. I'm sorry the guy lost his job. I hope he lands somewhere, but I'm happy he's not on the Nats roster anymore. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on and talk about. Well, before we move on to the next segment, let me go ahead.
Well, you caught yourself this time.
I know. Look at that. I'm terrible at remembering this. I just want to remind all of our listeners that this podcast is part of the DMV Sports Network's library of podcasts. There are lots of shows. We have them about all the different local sports, Caps, Wizards, Redskins. Of course, this one about the Nats. There's also 2 mixed bag shows. It's About Time DC and the Dom and Thunder Show. You can get these wherever you find your podcasts, so please do check those out. And subscribe, leave reviews. We really appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit in our FYI segment for this week about the rule changes. These became official this week.
Yep.
Yes. So there's 5 new rule changes. Some of them are going to be coming in this year. Most of them are going to be coming in 2020. So the MLB and MLB PA agreed on eliminating the August 31st waiver trade deadline, only having one deadline at July 31st. Instituting a 3-batter minimum for relievers unless the end of the inning or an injury, shorter inning breaks. For Home Run Derby, they raised the prize to $1 million to get bigger names, and then an MLB All-Star Election Day to help the fans pick the starters and get voting up. So I think it should be a pretty good conversation. We'll start with the one trade deadline. I think this is great.
I think it makes a lot of sense. And for the casual fan that they're trying to draw in, it just makes more sense than having to explain what a waiver deadline is.
Oh, yeah, I love this one. This is one that I totally
it makes
support.
a lot of sense.
The drama is going to be absolutely incredible. Teams have to decide on July 31st, are we giving up or are we not?
Right, and that is really at what all trade deadlines are in sports, but I think baseball more than any is like you are making a decision on that day. Are we going to try to make the playoffs or are we sellers at the deadline?
Yeah.
And I think one deadline is going to be a lot more drama and it's going to be a lot more fun.
Yeah. Like, look what the Nats did last year. They kind of sort of bought before the deadline, but then they sold off during the waiver deadline.
Yeah, and it's going to eliminate that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like it a lot. It's going to make teams, they can't be wishy-washy. They have to make a decision by deadline.
Yeah, and I'm generally the Luddite among us who hates all changes, but I actually like it.
Which is a good segue into the next one.
Yeah,
I'm surprised the 3-batter minimum got implemented. I thought this was going to be just
I read somewhere that they were just going to do this in the minors this year to work out the kinks, and that this is not going to be in the majors for this season.
It'll still be 2020. Yeah.
I'm all in favor of this, honestly. People are going to freak out about it, but this is going to be one of those rules that people will forget about as a rule in 3 years. This whole, relievers coming in and facing one batter thing started about 5 years ago. Before that, guys came in and finished an entire inning. Yeah, and people are like, oh, what if a guy gets lit up? What's going to happen in less than 3 batters? It takes 3 batters to realize if a guy has it or doesn't anyways.
Home run. That would do it.
That's just incredible.
Or walk.
Well, exactly. You wouldn't take him out until that 3rd batter anyways. People are going to forget this is a rule, and it's going to go back to, baseball before when baseball was great. People are actually going to have to develop more well-rounded relievers and more well-rounded pitchers in general.
God, what a blessing for the Nats having them force them to develop good pitching.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm ambivalent about this one. I don't love it, and I can see the argument in favor of it. It is sort of annoying, but I think if people a lot of people talk about this in terms of pace of play, these pitching changes take forever and it's so boring because you bring one guy in. But to me, if you eliminate all of the breaks, if you just had commercials at the in between innings and you didn't do it for every pitching change, then you would make this a lot less onerous to watch for the viewers. And I do kind of appreciate the specialists, especially this guy is so hard. We've got this one pitcher we keep on here and this is his job, and it's this high drama of can this guy whose one job is to get this guy out, can he do it? I like that. So to me, if you need to make it less boring and less annoying to watch, then stop going to commercial every time you change pitchers.
Yeah, it's fair.
There's 2 points I wanted to pick on. So the lefty specialist, like you mentioned, you love that, is actually, there's been studies done, or not studies, Fangraphs posted an article about how that's dying, about how teams aren't using that as much as they used to.
The loogie?
Yeah. So basically, teams aren't really
It's fun to say and fun to watch.
And it's just the rate of appearances is down to 0.25% of relievers compared to 2 years ago. It was almost 1. So teams aren't really using it anymore. And then you talked about the boringness of the one pitcher coming out. MLB.com talked about this one game that actually is the reason why. Well, not the reason, but one of the reasons why this rule came into effect. It was in July, and there's 4 pitchers for 4 batters. It took 17 minutes. 10 minutes of that was commercials. 2 minutes of that was waiting for the relievers to finish the warm-ups. 1.5 minutes of that was the coach walking to the mound.
Yeah, so you could get rid of so much of that. That's my point. To me, I would say if you want to bring in a reliever, then warm them up in the bullpen. You don't get to come out and do all these warm-up tosses. Get hot in the bullpen, be ready to go. The manager doesn't need to walk out every single damn time. I mean, to come get your starter, that's fine, but you don't need to come out every if the guy went in there to get one batter out, you don't need to walk back out there to get the ball from him.
Yeah, I get it for the catcher wants to see a few pitches from his pitcher to get that, but I agree. They could definitely shorten up.
3.
You should. I mean? Yeah, exactly. You should be warm in the bullpen. and then you'd be able to go right out. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but the commercials are the problem, and I actually get so irritated with all of these
commercials.
Tweaks. Yeah, all of these tweaks for pace of play is so irritating, and I hate all of these rule changes. Like, just shorten up all the commercials. And this is
you're in luck.
Perfect segue into our next
yes.
rule change.
So the 2.5 minute inning break, way too long, is now down to 2 minutes. It's
a good start, but they need to eliminate
an extra minute every inning.
Yeah, they need to eliminate the commercials for the pitching changes, and they won't do it because they're making so much money.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
that's what it comes down to.
They can do what golf does, or like even NASCAR, just have the commercials and split screen, and like they're still gonna get all the revenue. So you got the game going on one half, and then the commercial going on the right side.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's pretty funny that baseball needs to take a note from golf and NASCAR.
Hey, say what you want, but networks love having golf. That thing does not.
Oh, I'm not saying. I'm just saying it's pretty funny. Like, that's all I'm saying.
I would rather shove ice picks under all my toenails than watch golf on television.
Yeah, well, that's your opinion, and I hate you. So,
Tiger's back. So,
anyway, I think that all of this pace of play stuff that the league is so concerned about could be fixed by just eliminating the break, but the commercial breaks when they switch pitchers. You would save so much time per game, and you wouldn't need to do all of this other stuff that they keep doing that isn't going to it's going to shave what did we say on average, like 9 minutes off of a game, which isn't going to make a difference to anybody who's going to watch or not watch a baseball game because of 9 minutes.
Well, it'll be more because they won't have like that 17-minute thing they were talking about earlier, but I agree with your point.
Yeah, I think we'll notice it in certain situations more than we think we will, but yeah.
So then that takes us to our next changes that were for All-Star Weekend. There's been a lot of talk about making it more exciting. The Home Run Derby's kind of been missing out a couple of years. Big names don't want to do it. So how are they going to fix that? We're going to offer you $1 million to the winner.
$1 million is a lot of money, no matter how much money you have. $1 million is a big round number.
I mean, it's smart.
Like, look at Alex Bregman was literally in the Home Run Derby last year. $1 million prize for winning the Home Run Derby is more than his current contract is for this year.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. So, yeah, it's absolutely the right thing. Like, look at the dunk contest for the NBA. Like, again, I'm branching out to another sport, but you used to get, like, big names, like, back in the day. And this year, not one of the dunk contest contestants was, like, a starter on their team.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of them. I'm like, who?
Yeah, exactly. So they didn't want the Home Run Derby to turn into a bunch of Danny Espinosas. They wanted a Home Run Derby to stay star-studded, and they're offering a big prize. So I think it's absolutely the right thing to do.
Yeah, I love this one. I think it's a great idea.
It's great. And then also, what I also love, nice little dose of also for you guys there, is the All-Star Election Day. This is going to be pretty cool. It's one day nationwide where everyone can vote.
I voted.
Yeah. Amongst the top 3 vote getters, each position to decide the starters. This is going to be done in stadiums, and it's going to be done online. It's pretty cool to get people talking and have fans just have more.
Yeah, the long everybody vote 10 times a day for a month thing is not exciting.
And then you get spammed with emails, because you use multiple emails. Yeah, it's just I like this a lot, and it'll generate a lot of buzz that the MLB hasn't been having around their stars. So yeah, I like it.
I like it too. All right, look at that. There's so much peace and understanding amongst us in this.
I mean, yeah, Michael A. Taylor gets injured, and everything's right in the world.
Yep,
we can agree.
Cats lying down with dogs.
Yeah, world peace. Yeah, it's great.
Okay, let's talk about our awards predictions.
Yeah, so the way we can do this, or we're going to do this, is that we'll go through our Nats only predictions for some of our awards, and then we'll just quickly run off what our AL and NL predictions are for the year for the awards. So we can start with the Nats Rookie of the Year.
This is an easy one. Yeah. It's Robles. It has to be Robles.
Yeah, because we're not going to see Kieboom.
That's next year. He's next year.
Yeah, so Robles and Kieboom back to back. It's 100% Robles.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you have a Jake Knoll prediction or anything?
No, I was trying to think of some random, but that's the only one that's going to work there.
Chuck Taylor?
No, Roddy Reed? No? Okay. All right. So now that we're all in agreement for the obvious answer, We'll do Nats comeback player of the year.
This is another easy one. It's got to be Eaton.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree Eaton, but you could also argue Doolittle.
I guess so, but he wasn't like injured the whole season.
He was injured for basically half the season.
That was like 2 months.
Well, since you guys are going Eaton, I'll go Strauss. He was hurt
another one.
A lot. Wasn't very good when he was healthy. So I'm expecting a healthy year and good year for him. He gets my comeback player of the year.
Yeah, I think he's the key. If he has a great year.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's other couple different directions you could go, but yeah, I think Eaton and Strauss, but they're probably equal as far as comeback player of the year go. So this one also might be an obvious one, but we'll see. Nats Cy Young.
Yeah.
Jeremy Hellickson? Anyone?
I'm going Patrick Corbin. Mix it up. Dude's gonna be the GOAT.
Yeah, he's not. Scherzer's gonna be the GOAT. Obviously. This one, there's just, I mean.
Okay, well, you seem really confident in that. So when Corbin's better, I'm going to come for you.
All right. I will be ready.
What do you do
Corbin's
normally?
Better than Max this year, then we are having a really bad year.
Bet.
All right. What do you want to bet? Who has who has more strikeouts this year, Scherzer or Corbin?
Patrick Corbin.
What? More than Scherzer? Scherzer threw 300 strikeouts last year.
Max Scherzer's turning 35 this year.
Oh, wow. Okay, wait.
I'm taken aback.
I don't care what
speechless.
I don't care what the bet is. I want to care like what the bet is for. So let's say if Ryan wins, Amanda has to put DC Natchak is my dad in her bio.
No. How about I buy
She doesn't believe
beer
in
at
it.
the
She doesn't believe in it. Beer. You want to put that in my body and poison me?
His body is a temple.
Right. Aren't all of our bodies temples? No, I'm telling you, it's got to be Scherzer. I just think if Scherzer's not the best pitcher on the staff this year, the Nats aren't going anywhere.
No, I highly disagree. I think it's plausible that Corbin or Strasburg have better years than Max, but I don't think that means Max necessarily has a bad year. I just think that means Corbin and Strauss have a great year.
Hey, never forget that the last time Max Scherzer won the Cy Young, he had the third best ERA on the Nats for starting pitchers.
Yeah, Ooh. ERA is not everything. Huh?
Come again for Big Fudge?
All right, well, I'm going to just throw a wrench in all this. I'm going to say the Nats Cy Young is Steven Strasburg.
All right. Now we're back to normal.
Yep, there it is. Okay, so hopefully this one has a little bit of argument in it. So what about the Nats' most valuable player?
Ooh, I got Trey.
Oh, damn it. Now I got to mix it up.
Go Howie Kendrick, Ryan. No one will see it coming.
It's Taylor, isn't it? Taylor's your guy.
I mean, he's already off to a great start.
No, I'll stick with Trey. I think Trey has a really big year.
I think so, too. I think he's having that year everybody keeps waiting for him to have, and I think he's going to steal a ton of bases, and he's going to be on base a bunch, and I think he's going to have – I am going to even ruin a little bit, give you guys a sneak peek. I think he might be in the running for NL MVP.
Ooh.
Interesting. As big of a Rendon stan that you are, I'm surprised you didn't go Rendon.
Yeah, because Rendon, I feel like he's going to be solid as he always is, but I don't think he's MVP. Okay.
All right. Well, damn it. I have Trey too. I mean, you look at it, like you said, Rendon's solid, consistent, but he doesn't have the MVP breakout year because he's just so consistent, and that's great to have. But you look at Trey, he could easily steal like 50 bags. He could probably hit 25 home runs, and he can bat over 300. Like there is that potential there. And if you get Eaton on base in front of him, he could have some more RBIs than he's been accustomed to in the past couple of years because there's someone on base. And if you bat Robles ninth, that only adds to the case. So
they're not going to bat Robles ninth. I know you want them to, but they're not going to do that.
I don't think they will either, but I'm just saying if Max is pitching, you could bat Robles ninth, and I don't think that'd be too crazy.
Maybe not with Max pitching because he can hit.
Well,
a little bit.
You get the point.
Yeah.
But I just think will be people in front of him now that will add to his MVP type campaign. So,
agreed.
Yeah.
And I hope that they make it Eaton Turner. I don't want to see Turner lead off. I really think he benefits immensely from Eaton in front of him, and I think he'll have a much better year if he's in the 2-hole.
Agreed. Okay, so we got our Nats picks. So let's transition into just our league picks and see if any of them translate. So let's start off with the AL and NL Rookie of the Year.
All right, I got Guerrero Jr. in the American League if they let him play.
Agreed. Yep.
And I think they will. I think there's a point where you can't keep a guy like that in the minors. You just got to bring him up.
Yeah.
And then I have Robles as the NL Rookie of the Year.
Interesting.
I got Kyle Tucker from the Astros. Dude's
a good one.
Very good. And then Tatis Jr. in San Diego is going to be stupid at shortstop this year.
He is going to be really good.
Is Tatis going to start the year in the majors? Do we know?
Yeah, he's going to be the shortstop.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So AL, I also went Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I think Kyle Tucker is a phenomenal pick, and he's probably more likely to make the opening day roster. I haven't heard any updates, but I know Vlad Jr. was hurt there for a while, so I don't know if they're going to leave him down and use the injury as like a cover up. An excuse to leave him down. When
to
it's
play
really
games with his service time.
Yeah,
right.
That's exactly it. But I still think it's Vlad Guerrero because I think when he inevitably does come up, he's just going to go on a tear. So I think the hype will be around him more than Kyle Tucker, who's just like a good rookie on a already stacked team. And then so NL, I think it does come down to Tatis and now Robles, but just because I'm biased and I want Robles to do well, I'm going to go Robles. I think
he's looking really good in spring training.
Yeah,
and if he can have the kind of season he's capable of having, I think he's got a really good shot at
Yeah, and now that Michael A. Taylor graciously got injured so he could have a path to the majors.
Gracious.
I think Robles will take advantage of that opportunity and he'll not run away, but he'll take the Rookie of the Year. So, yeah.
All
right. So let's move on to the AL and NL Comeback Player of the Year. Who wants to start?
So
Ryan?
I'm going Carlos Correa and then Marcel Ozuna.
Oh, you picked the same ones I picked.
Are you kidding me?
Amanda, come on.
Damn it.
I think both of them had pretty down years for their standards, and they're both going to return to their former all-star elite level selves this year. And the Cardinals going to have a stupid year, and Ozuna is going to be
I'm kind of thinking the Cardinals are going to be really good this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, that's also
I'm boring.
Prediction.
Those were my picks. Sorry.
So I have Carlos Correa. I think that's the obvious choice or a very solid choice. Marcell Ozuna was definitely in the conversation for me, but just to switch it up so we're not all boring and pick the same thing again, I'm gonna go Corey Seager with the Dodgers. I think
he had a really tough year with the
injuries. He had a tough year, and he was before the injury, he was in that conversation for best shortstop in the league. Young guy, tons of potential, and I think he bounces right back because the Dodgers definitely need him. So I think Corey Seager is gonna get NL Comeback Player of the Year, but Carlos Correa will get it in the AL. So shortstop heavy. All right. So now we'll add the new one we couldn't really do for the Nats, but AL and NL Manager of the Year.
All right. I've got Counsell from the Brewers for the National League.
Okay.
I think the Brewers are going to be really good.
Yeah, I think 95 games last year.
Yeah, I think they've got a great team. I think Counsell did a really good job with them last year, and I think he's going to do that again. So I'm going with him for the National League, and for the American League, I'm going with the Red Sox, Alex Cora. I think the Red Sox are gonna win the AL again.
Okay, well I'm gonna go next because I know Ryan's definitely gonna steal my NL one. So I'm gonna go with Mike Shildt of the Cardinals, and as Amanda, you previously alluded to, I think the Cardinals have a really good year. And not only that, bold prediction, you heard it here first. The Cardinals will have the most wins in the National League.
Huh. That's bold.
Not that bold.
I don't know. I wouldn't have them as the most, but
I mean, the Cubs and Brewers each won 95 games last year. The Dodgers have that capability, and who knows how the NL East is going to play out. So I think it's bold.
Well, the Cubs only projected to win 79 this year, so
and that also wouldn't surprise
that's
me.
That's kind of, I don't know. That seems way low to me, but
it wouldn't surprise me at all. But yeah, so, I think people easily forget they were.
What do you guys think the Nats are going to win this year?
91.
Ooh.
69. Just kidding. I'm going to go 90.
Wow, you guys are a little.
Only because I think the NL East beats up on each other, and I think. If they win the division with 91, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think the division winner has like 93.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I think
too far back.
I think the Nats are going to have 92, 93, and I think it's going to come down to the Nats and the Phillies for the division.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. All right, what do we have left in this awards predictions?
Ryan, you have to give yours.
No, it's okay. I don't matter. So Nick said my NL Manager of the Year, AL Manager, I'm going to go Rick Renteria. They're going to surprise some people this year. You heard it here first.
Yeah, White Sox. With all the big frees and splashes they had this offseason, like John Jay.
Hey, man, don't sleep on that young core they got.
Yeah, it's all about the farm system or something.
Yeah, because prospects always pan out, as we know.
Yeah. They've got a lot of international money, I think, so they're going to be really good.
All right. So let's move on to the AL and NL Cy Young.
All right. Well, I'm a Scherzer stan, so there you go. Scherzer for me for the NL. I think he almost had it this year. I think he's going to win it again this year. And I've got Chris Sale in the American League.
Yeah, DeGrom just had a stupid good year. Yeah. That was just like 1 in a million. So
I think if Max had been better in that last month, I think if he had continued to perform as well as he had, he could have won it. But I think he just fell off slightly there at the end.
Yep. If Max had been better, he would have won. There you go.
Hashtag analysis.
John Heyman reporting. Back to you.
Yeah, except this is true. So, yeah.
I'm going Bauer and Syndergaard. Syndergaard has never had it all together. The dude's stuff is stupid. Like, he has like a 94-mile-per-hour changeup, so he's going to be healthy this year. He's going to fix his little command issues he has, and I'm expecting a big year. And then Trevor Bauer, despite being a douchebag, is a very good pitcher.
Yeah, douchebaggery doesn't really affect skill, as we've seen across many players.
It affects everything.
So I am also going to go Chris Sale, and people easily forget Chris Sale's never won a Cy Young.
Yeah, that seems insane.
Which is just crazy to me. So I think now that they've won the World Series and they're less concerned about his workload, they'll just fully unleash him and he'll just dominate for 162 and his like 30 plus starts. So I think it's Chris Sale's year, and someone that will really, really have to stand out, like DeGrom level stand out, to take that away from him. Because I think it's Chris Sale's year without question, which leads me into my NL pick, and I think it's Jacob DeGrom again. I think. I don't know what it is. Obviously, he's always been very good, but last year was just insane. And I think now that he has what is on paper a better team around him, granted they're already trending with their injuries again, but I don't know if it's their manager. His name's escaping me. He was the pitching coach with Cleveland before he came over. But I don't know if it's him who's kind of helped DeGrom's progression, but he figured something out. And so just because of how good his year was last year, I'm not going to bet against that. I think he continues that. And that's still with all credit to Max, because Max is an elite pitcher. But I think DeGrom is just unreal. So I'm going to go DeGrom.
All
right. So that takes us to our final prediction, and that is AL and NL MVP.
All right, I've got Trey Turner as my pick for NL MVP. Wow. I think Turner's going to have a really good year. I'm high on him this year. And my AL MVP pick is Aaron Judge.
Wow.
I mean, Judge is good.
I can't get over the Trey Turner one yet. So.
I'm still speechless. No, wow. I really think that if Turner can have the kind of year that people are predicting him to have, I mean, if he really lives up to all that potential, then I don't know who's gonna be better. I mean, if he can hit 25 home runs and steal 50 bags and drive in, 95 or 100 runs, I mean, I don't know who's better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it, obviously, but you just look at what it was last year. Like, until Yelich went on his, insane, insane.
Yelich was really good.
Yeah, until he went on his insane tear, you weren't really sure who was the front runner. It could have been Yelich. It could have been Freddie Freeman. It could have been Javi Baez.
Yeah.
It could have been a number of people. It could have been Trevor Story, who, it could have been Nolan Arenado. There's so many viable options until Yelich ran away with it, putting up Barry Bonds-like numbers. But
Yelich was my other pick I thought about for this, but then I thought
you can't backtrack now.
I thought, no, I'm not backtracking. I'm sticking with Trey. I really wanted to, I figured it would be fun to have one outlandish prediction in the bunch.
Oh, well, that's what we have Ryan for. Go for it, buddy.
So AL, I am going Bregman. The dude's gotten better every single year. He's turning 25, and I expect him to tear it up this year in a Little League ballpark he plays in 81 times a year. And then for the NL, the move of the offseason that nobody's talking about is Paul Goldschmidt. That dude is unreal, and now he is in St. Louis, and I think he is going to have a ridiculous year, and he's going to be the MVP.
Yeah, St. Louis has been looking for their first baseman ever since Pujols left. They got him. I think he re-signs because I think the Cardinals are a good fan base, loyal fan base.
A good market.
And
they're a great baseball
town. And the Cardinals have a track record of making these trades where a guy has 1 year left and then they end up re-signing. Matt Holliday comes to mind in that when he was in his prime and ended up re-signing that 7-year deal in St. Louis. So I think Goldschmidt has an insane walk year. The Cardinals re-sign him, and the Cardinals, as I previously stated, go pretty far this year. So Goldie is my NL pick, and I am quite frankly surprised that no one won this for AL, but I think AL is Mike Trout.
Too obvious.
But he didn't win it last year, and he didn't win it the year before.
Yeah, because they're tired of voting for him.
Yeah, I guess so, but I mean, the dude is insane.
He is. He is insane. I almost think, too, that he plays on a team that doesn't ever do anything, and it makes it hard to – and as unfair as it is, it's the same thing with I think for Cy Young voting. When you have a crappy team around you, no matter how good you are personally, it's hard to win a Cy Young if your team's no good.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what's happening to – it's true, but I think that's what's happening to Trout.
Yeah, he wants out. He can't wait for 2020.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about him being in Philly. I don't have it in me right now.
Take my ass to Philly.
You can go to the Bro Lawn. Anyway, let's move on to everyone's favorite part of the show, which is the Twitter questions from our listeners. Thanks again, guys, for sending them in. We had a bunch this week. We're going to start with @Big1United. Said, is there any way our bullpen turns out well?
If we sign Kimbrel.
There is a way, and the way is named Craig Kimbrel.
We've been asking this question for 7 years, and the answer's always been the same. So no.
Yep, there it is.
No. There you go.
Yeah, easy
Not to put
answer.
too fine a point on it.
Yeah, easy Twitter question. Give me something hard.
All right, @BLimperis says, which Nationals player is the key to the team's success? For me, it is Trey Turner.
I mean, as we've hyped up Trey all episode, I think that's just as viable as option as any. I think Steven Strasburg is a huge one.
Yeah, that's how I'm going.
But I'm going to go Adam Eaton because I think without Eaton, Trey takes a step back. But I think with Eaton, Trey can really excel. So it's kind of like the thing that'll keep things moving. So I'm going to go Adam Eaton as the key to the team success because we've missed it. We missed it last year. We've really missed it his entire time with the Nats.
Yeah, so that first month he was with them, he was awesome, and then hurt. And then last year really wasn't that good. What about you, Ryan?
So I've talked about before, but I think if this team has any hopes of winning the division and actually moving on to the playoffs, they need Strauss to be healthy. I think him behind Max is a huge, huge key. It needs to take off some stress for the bullpen and the rotation as well. And if he's healthy, his stuff's ridiculous, and that'd be absolutely massive for this team because this team's going to have to use their pitching.
He has that potential for sure.
That's a good answer. I think just for the sake of being different, I will go with Dozier. Just because if Dozier has a year like last year, that's a huge hole, both defensively and in the lineup. He has to have a bounce back year and get back to being his normal self. If he doesn't, then the Nats have a big, big problem.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, power bat potential. So if he gets back to that, we go from good lineup to dangerous lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so much Trey today. At Thursday says, how do we think Trey's season will turn out?
So just putting hard numbers on it, I'm going to say he bats around 290. He has 23 home runs. He has 72 RBIs and 47 stolen bases.
Wow, that's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, I'm a big numbers guy.
Well, I already said I think he's going to win the MVP. So.
You better throw out some bigger numbers.
I know. I'm going to need those numbers to be bigger, Nick. I'm thinking I think around 290 is right. I think he's going to have a good year at the plate. I think he's going to steal more bases than that. I'm thinking like 56, something like that, maybe even up towards 60. I think he's going to steal a ton of bases this year. I think RBIs, I'm going to go somewhere in the 80s. And I don't know. I think he's going to have a big year. I think if he has the year that I hope and think he'll have, then the Nats are going to have a great year too.
Yeah, I think without being a power home run hitter, like you'll see the RBI totals down. Like if he's in that 2 hole, like Judge hits second, but he hits so many home runs that you don't really notice it in his RBIs. So I think the RBI is down, but everything else I agree with as a potential.
What do you think, Ryan?
So I'm going to say he's a slash like 280 with a 345 on base, and then a slugging right around 420, just looking at like his career averages of where he normally is. And then 25 home runs, 79 RBIs, and then 45 stolen bases. You heard it here first. Book it.
I think those numbers are too low. I hope those numbers are too low.
My numbers were like exactly the same, Ryan. I said it first.
Well, we have our weekly "What's worse?" question from Dom from @Dom and Thunder. What's worse, Andrew Stevenson as the 4th outfielder or Wilmer Difo as the
Wilmer
backup
Difo
infielder?
Next?
Yeah, that's absolutely my answer too.
Yeah, Wilmer Difo. 100%.
Wilmer Difo as the backup infielder is worse than anything.
Yep.
He just doesn't have anything.
But it's not worse than these 2 tweets of the week.
Okay, now this is the best part of the show. The worst tweets of the week. Drum roll. Okay, we have 2 winners this week. Our girl, our pal, our friend of the show @OneLovelyLady.
No longer friend of the show.
She said, this is her tweet, Captain America can die and I won't shed a single effing tear. That's her tweet.
Literally one of the worst tweets I've ever seen. And I did not expect it. I did not like it. I condemn it, and I'm going to call her out for it. This was a terrible tweet, and she is wrong in every single way.
Huh. I'm not a Captain America fan, so.
Oof. Well, as Nick's nickname is Cap, so he is currently fuming at you saying that.
I know. I'm not saying I'm not a hater like our friend here, but I'm also I'm not that big of a fan.
So a bit of news for our listeners. We will be transitioning to a 2-man show going forward. Amanda had some unforeseen.
Yeah, I had to go spend more time with my family.
Yeah, we sent her to the farm upstate. Yeah.
Okay. The next one, and this one to
me
is
favorite tweet.
Much worse than the Captain America tweet, is @RidgeHKR talking about Michael A. Taylor. Taylor is possibly the best center fielder in the National League.
Oof. So, Michael A. Taylor, so he sucks. He is a above average defender, which Nat fans greatly over exaggerate. But I can name 29 other center fielders I'd rather take than Michael A. Taylor. If you think he's the best center fielder in the league, my ats are open to serve my DMs. You could talk to me at DC Natchak, and I will cyberbully you.
No, I would take 30. Put Robles above him too. I mean, like.
Yeah, I just have no words for this one. I don't, I know some people are bigger haters of Taylor than others, but the idea that he could be any, even in the conversation of the best center fielder in the National League is bananas. It's just
like people don't believe that we get tweets like this, but this is living proof. Like this is a type of tweet we get. This is
he has one tool. He's just a good defender. He has no other tools. And this guy wants to say he's the best.
So wait, are you saying, Ryan, that strikeouts aren't a tool? Is that what? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Shoot.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to our 2 winners this week. We really appreciate you guys reaching out to us on Twitter. We love interacting with all the listeners. So please keep
I didn't
them up.
shed a single effing tear putting these tweets in our show doc. So.
All right. Yes. So on that note, thank you guys so much for listening. That is going to do it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review. That would be great. Again, this is Amanda. You can find me on Twitter at awhite7877. You can find Nick and Ryan at DC Natchak, and the show's handle is at Half Street High Heat. Don't forget to check out the DMVSportsNetwork.com and follow them on Twitter at DMV_SN. If you're interested in joining the DMV Sports Network team, they're always looking for new writers. You can contact them via direct message on Twitter. You can reach out to them on the website or just email them directly at DMVSportsNetwork@outlook.com. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Later.
Give me the bridge now. I feel like busting loose, give me the bridge now. I feel like busting loose now. Busting loose in the evening, busting loose can be pleasing. Talk about busting loose, y'all. Busting loose in the meantime, busting loose make you feel